So the court was of the view that these things are both equal, they're both fine, because they're grounded within the custom of polygamy. Because if you didn't have polygamy, there will be no point of talking about idigi, I will assume. So it's very difficult within this framework to decide or denounce one thing as repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience, and the other one as not. Those two rules of customary law were from the same source of polygamy and can be considered side by side. That's why Professor Uchebu is actually of the view that repugnancy policy is wrong, is a fallacy, and should not be applied over our customary law. Customary law should be left on its own to evolve and to develop. Okay. Who is in class? Let me check. Deborah, are you in class?
Good morning, sir.
Lovely, thank you. So, in view of what we said so far,
yes, sir.
Should customary law be left on its own? We should not apply the repugnancy test. We should just let it evolve.
I still think repugnancy test should be. I still think the validity test should be applied because some customary laws are actually barbaric and ridiculous.
But
you even
ridiculous, okay? Like what?
You gave an example of when a man's when an husband dies, and then the tradition of the custom of their particular society is to tell the wife to bath with the water of the dead man. So it's actually like it doesn't speak justice. So I feel that they should still apply. But I don't know about it. Customary evolving over time. I don't know the extent of. I don't know the extent.
At what stage will it evolve for you to change the customary law itself? That's the difficulty, isn't it? At what stage will you see it has evolved enough for the rules to now be changed on paper?
Yes, sir.
I think that's part of the problem that we're facing. But don't forget that even the Europeans had their own prove your innocence by combat. Prove your innocence through prove your innocence. I understand. I stand to be corrected that one paternity test in Ijaw land is to put the baby in water. Baby sinks, no be my pikin. Baby is buoyant, and the normal fish that they are is a proper Ijaw pikin. I don't know whether that's true or not, but I understand that's that's how DNA test is done in Ijaw land. Would it be good to drown an innocent child because of this kind of approach to things? Well, I guess before the child drowns, to be removed from the water, I would hope. Now, the same Europe, North America, and so forth, you find that if a lady, usually women, so maybe these are patrilineal societies, patriarchy uses their power to chance women too much. You barely hear of men being accused of being witch. It's always women that always have been accused of being witches. And when a woman is being accused of being a witch, in medieval England, she has to prove her innocence. And what they do is to they throw her into a pond or throw her into water. If she drowns, she's not a witch. If she floats and comes out alive, she is a witch, and they set her on fire and they do a bonfire and burn her to death. Either way, she's a goner. I guess this will because they came from this kind of society and did all of these things. That's why their own rules about repugnancy of good conscience, natural justice, all these things arose. Okay, so you can see that where they two were coming from is not all that wonderful. Look at the case of Alhaji Muhammad, I guess not, 1968, where I believe that Alhaji Muhammad married a 26-year-old, married a 13-year-old on polygamous marriage in Nigeria. And they were in the UK. And it was like, how can a girl of this age be married? Someone that is not really acceptable someone that's under the age of consent. 16 is the age of consent in the UK. And basically, it is a consideration that this child will be in moral danger within the context of the Children and Young Persons Act of 1963. The issue is that, is there a valid marriage? Is it acceptable for the child to be exposed to moral danger if she's living with a 26-year-old man? Is it not repugnant to any decent-minded Englishman that to allow this to happen? And it was said that the local council or the local authority could take charge of the girl. But on appeal, it was held that for the purpose of ascertaining the status of the girl, the court would recognize that the marriage is valid and she has a status of wife on appeal. And it was further argued that the court further said that you could not say this girl will be in moral danger under the terms of the Children and Young Persons Act of 1963, merely because she carried out her normal wifely duties, and committing her to the care of the local authority would be revoked. Lord Parker, who gave the lead judgment at the Court of Appeal, took for granted that the man, Mohammed, may be found to be a bad lot. That he maybe has done things that people don't approve of. But in view of the fact that the girl is happily married to him, there is no issue of moral danger by her associating and being with him. The court was of the view that, well, we English people will never tolerate a 13-year-old to be considered a wife. But since she was already a wife, even though married outside the country, then that could be accepted. Otherwise, the court will be ignoring the way of life in which he was brought up and the way of life in which the husband was brought up. So basically, the court was able to look at the society in which those people were coming from and say, morality is contextual. It depends on the society. And if these people are coming from a society where it's perfectly normal for a 13-year-old to be married under their law and their rules, then the courts have no choice but to accept this this state of affairs. Yeah? Are we good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, somebody's raising their hand up. Okay. Yes, who's raising their hands up?
Oh, sorry, my hand has been raised since, but just
For
to
a
bring
long
it
time.
back.
Okay.
So when you were speaking about the repugnancy doctrine, what I
Yes.
wanted to say was essentially that the repugnancy doctrine in itself, it's not wrong, but it's the
Okay.
basis on which it is based. So the repugnancy doctrine is based on the colonial standard. While our
Okay.
society is different from the colonial standard, like their view of what is natural justice, equity, and good conscience, like you said, can be different from ours. In fact, generally it's different. But then
Okay.
you mentioned the statement that even the colonialists were at some point they had barbaric customs. So I
Yes.
can say to an extent they might have um they might have a valid reason, or their repugnancy doctrine might be valid in the sense that
Okay.
they also had barbaric customs and they set up this repugnancy doctrine to reform these
Yes.
barbaric customs. But
Yes.
even though I still feel the repugnancy doctrine has a lot of work to be done on it to suit our society, as although the colonialists had their barbaric customs, we are
Yeah.
still different, whether we like it or not.
Okay. So every society should, what is repugnant in society A may not be as repugnant in society B. That's your argument.
To an extent, yes, sir.
Okay. Somebody else put their hands up. Was there somebody else that Olisa Maker? I think I saw a name called Olisa Maker. Did you want to make a contribution? No?
Prof.
Hello.
Prof.
Yes, go on, Mr. Peter Nebose.
Yeah, my contribution is this concept of barbarism and co. Within the framework of culture definition, we learn or we are told that no culture is superior to the other.
Yes.
One culture is not superior to the other culture.
Yeah.
Within the framework of this discourse, so we'll say, well, it could have been that we allow customary law to develop on its own, but subject to another concept of acculturation. As we embrace another culture, we now see the fine points maybe in that culture and drop that which we perceive to be crude in our own culture.
Okay. Okay. I think, are there any other questions? Are we all good?
Good morning. I just want to make a contribution to
Okay, go ahead. Identify
scenario
yourself. What's your
where
name?
okay, my name is Pelumi, sir.
Your name is what?
Pelumi
Pelumi what? Awobo.
Awubo. Yes, sir.
Okay. Go
All
ahead.
right. So yeah, my contribution is as regards the scenario you painted on vehicles and private vehicles and commercial vehicles having clashes on the road. So I'm going to make a quick reference to the Yoruba belief or the Yoruba saying that idobale okishewa, right? Although
Yes.
we would like to uphold communalism like my other classmates have mentioned, the Yoruba custom also realizes that that could be an avenue for bad behavior. And that's why
Ah,
that saying comes up all the time, that because you are kneeling down and prostrating and rolling about does not mean that your bad behavior would be jettisoned or would take our eyes away from it.
there you
What
go. See?
So what you also have done requires a punishment and you'll be punished by the law, and that's why we have laws. In fact, they go to say that it is a town where there is no law that there will be no sin. There is a law and you have violated the law. Yeah, you will be punished regardless of whether you call all the people in your family to come and apologize or not. So I think that most times when people say that, oh, he has begged, he has apologized, why don't you take your eyes off it? It's because they don't have or they've never experienced such situation and they've not had the opportunity to, bear the consequences. Like say their own car has not been crashed and they had to fix it themselves and see how much they have to spend on it. So sometimes people speak from the perspective of their not experienced such things and they feel like the other person should be able to live with it. These same people, if something happens to them, personal in their own personal capacity, you see how they would react because it is them bearing the brunt. So I think that where there are, of course, there are some behaviors that we could forgive, but we should not use the avenue of apologizing and all to as a license.
To escape from
Yeah,
the
yes,
consequences of
as
the
a
action.
license for enabling bad behavior, which will lead to say that that's why most people break the law because they feel like they the punishment would be overlooked if they know how to beg properly or if they know someone that can help them apologize properly. So
There you
that's my
go. There you go. I even see it. I've seen even on social media where these people that come from Africa, go from Asia. One was trying to date a 13-year-old underage girl online. It was a setup because it was this child guardian people who pretend to be children online. And then if somebody's trying to toast them, they will say, okay, they will play along with them, and then they will invite them. Then when the person invites them to come and meet them, that group will come with their cameras, and then they'll call the police, come and pick that person up. I've seen situations where the person that was being picked up knelt down and started crying on the floor that they should forgive them. It's just the typical don't take responsibility for your actions. You know it's wrong to try to date a 13-year-old. Yes, and when you're now caught, I will never do it again. Also, promises have been made. Of course, you'll never do it again. That's what you say. But you are evil enough to want to date a 13-year-old. You are evil enough. And if you're a pedophile in your whatever reasons you are a pedophile, does it go away because you are forgiven? And that's where society gets it wrong. That's why when we're looking at the issues of law, morals, and religion, where do we draw the line? Yes, forgiveness is part of religion. Forgiveness is part of society, it's part of our morals. But it's not at the expense of turning our society to lawless societies. You see, I've seen, I don't want to use Godwin Emefiele, former CBN governor, as only example, but it's not the only one. To the best of my knowledge, I didn't know Emefiele was such a good Christian. One time he was being carried to court to explain himself by AFCC. The Bible he carried was so big, the cross on that Bible was weighed at least half a ton. When he was going to his office and doing his crimes, he never associated with the Christian religion. So why do we care whether it's really is? I don't care whether you're a Christian, Muslim, animist, or whatever. If you commit a crime, face it. Don't bring the religion to it. But I ask you this question, and it's sad to say, how many religious establishments turn down gifts on the basis of corruption? How many? We had a situation where a man was found to be stealing money from, I think it was, I can't remember the name of the hotel. I think it was Sheraton, and giving it to a church as gifts. And when Sheraton told that pastor, the pastor refused to return the gifts. Who does that? I have rarely heard of a government in Kenya. They recently returned the money of the president. The president made a donation to the Catholic Church. They sent his money back to him. Say they will not accept his money. So how do you see law, morals, and religion intersecting? Is it working? Because I don't know of any religious enterprise, whether animist, Christian, or Muslim, that will turn down a 2 billion naira gift. I don't know. I'm not saying they all are the same, but I'm just saying maybe you know some of them that will turn it down. I don't know. I do remember that in the UK, when somebody won a lottery in millions and gave a £1 million to his mosque, the mosque rejected the money. How can they accept gambling money? Would any mosque in Nigeria turn down £1 million equivalent? I don't know. I don't know 1 billion. No, that's 2 billion or something like that, 1.8 billion. I don't know. So anyway, we've come to the end of the course. I wish you all well. Dr. Caribe White will come and take over in the next class. Class rep, do get in touch with her. I'll let her know that it's time for her to come to class. Thank you all very much. I wish you well, and have a wonderful day. The best wishes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so goodbye. Bye.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof.